This is a WMUR Commitment 2020 special in partnership with the New Hampshire Institute of Politics. Conversation with the candidate. Tonight, Congressman Tim Ryan.
Good evening and welcome to our Conversation with the Candidate series. I'm Adam Sexton and our guest this evening is Democratic Representative Tim Ryan of Ohio. We'll be getting to know the congressman tonight and where he stands on key issues. At the start of our show, I'll be asking the candidate some questions, and then after a break, we'll have our studio audience ask their questions in a town hall format. But before we begin with that, let's take a quick look at the candidate's biography. Tim Ryan was born in Niles, Ohio in 1973 and went to John F. Kennedy High School in Warren, Ohio. He earned his bachelor's degree in political science from Bowling Green before coming here to New Hampshire to get his law degree from the Franklin Pierce Law Center, now the UNH School of Law. Ryan worked as a congressional aide in the U.S. House and then served in the Ohio State Senate. In 2002, he was elected as a U.S. representative from Ohio and has been re-elected 8 times. Ryan is a member of the House Appropriations Committee. He's a co-chair of the Congressional Addiction Treatment and Recovery Caucus, a member of the Bipartisan Task Force to Combat the Heroin Epidemic, and co-chair of the Congressional Manufacturing Caucus, which seeks to strengthen the country's manufacturing base and reform trade policies. He has written several books, including one about the return of the American family farm. Congressman Ryan is married and has 3 children. Representative Ryan, thanks so much for joining us this evening. We appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
So you jumped into the race, and we've got this growing field of Democrats. I think 16 officially now, with more to come, heading towards 18 to 20. What made you look at this field of Democrats and say, you know what, I got this?
Well, I can win. I can beat Donald Trump. I come from an area of the country where I do very well in my congressional races, and Trump won 3 of my districts, 3 of my counties. And we've got to beat him. We've got to win Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin. We've got great candidates in the race, but I know I can beat him, and I know I can get the economy squared away. I really understand the old economy because I come from the old Rust Belt, and I've seen it unwind over the last 30 years, 40 years. And we've been preparing for the future economy, and I understand that, and I know I can use the power of the White House to get the job done for us.
So a lot of voters are looking for something different, and President Trump won on an anti-Washington message. When voters are asking you, hey, what can you bring to Washington that's different since you've been there for so long, what do you say?
Well, unite the country. I mean, I get along with Republicans very well. Again, I represent a district where I did well, and a lot of people went and voted for Donald Trump. We're not going to get anything done if we don't come together. You can have the best 10-point plan on education, the economy, whatever it is. If we don't unify, we're done. And the most important thing for us to do is to rebuild the middle class. And we're weak now because we're so divided. And Russia likes the fact that we're divided. China loves the fact that we're divided. So the best thing we can do is come together. I can unite this country and set a really bold, aspirational agenda that's going to rebuild the middle class.
You talk about uniting the country. How do you find a bipartisan consensus in Washington, though? Are there any specifics there?
I think it's important to actually campaign on what you're going to do. I don't know if this sounds like a novel idea or not, but lay out some plans. We don't need the 10-point plan, but I think a big vision around electric vehicles, for example. We have 1 to 2 million electric vehicles today. We're going to have 30 million by 2030. I want us to make those in the United States. I want us to make the batteries in the United States. I want us to make the charging stations in the United States. Is that a Democrat idea? Is that a Republican idea? How do we bring the free market and the government and the educational institutions and philanthropy and venture capitalists all together around a big agenda? That's the job of the President of the United States. It's the most vital office in our democracy. And I feel like the President is fiddling around on his phone. He's bashing the former First Ladies. Meanwhile, the middle class is eroding. And the President's got to set a big vision and bring people together to get it done.
You mentioned that the President did well in parts of your congressional district in 2016. He did so on a message of Make America Great Again. Do you agree with that message?
Well, we're falling behind. I think the underlying currents of that, yeah, we're not doing well. The middle class is not doing well. The top 1% controls 90% of the wealth in the country. 40 to 50% of American families can't withstand a $400 or $500 emergency. I think he tapped into that anxiety, and but he hasn't delivered on it. And that's the reality of it. We just lost 1,700 jobs at a General Motors facility with nothing to replace it. Not electric vehicles, not additive manufacturing, not solar, not wind, not anything. Because there's no plan. Because he's over there fiddling around, starting culture wars, race baiting, whatever it is that he's doing. And so he tapped into it. His genius is his ability to market. But we don't need a marketer. We don't need someone who can star in a reality TV show. We don't need a superstar. We don't need a savior. We need a grinder. We need someone who's going to get in the foxhole with the American people and together solve these really big problems that we have.
Do you have any concern right now that the Democratic Party is moving too far to the left?
I think the focus has got to be on economics. I mean, the reality of it is these issues around criminal justice are critically important. We need criminal justice reform. We need health care reform. You know, we just got to have a broader conversation, but the thrust of our conversation has to address the economic anxiety that average people are feeling today. I can't explain enough to people, and I don't have to in places like New Hampshire and Ohio, but in the Beltway and in some of the financial centers, they don't understand the level of anxiety. We got the GDP and we got the stock market. We need to figure out what the national stress level is. What's the national anxiety level today? It's huge. And the economy's doing super well, supposedly, and the stock market's doing well, and unemployment's low. But yet the anxiety level's high. What's it going to be like if the economy takes a downturn? That's my concern. And if our message as Democrats is not a robust, we are going to rebuild the middle class. We are going to cut workers in on the deal. If workers who work hard, play by the rules, who take a shower after work, don't trust the Democrats, we're not going to win the presidency. They will trust me, and I will get them back in our camp, and then we'll have a nice coalition to rebuild the country.
Congressman Ryan, don't go anywhere. Right after the break, we're going to have our studio audience join this conversation. Stay with us.